Hello, I'm Angela Berger, and this is my reference project for phonetics class. First, we have the vowels. They are produced without the blockage of airflow. Vowels are categorized according to tongue height, which you can see in this image. We have high, mid, and low. They are also categorized by tongue advancement, front, central, and back, and whether the vowel is tense or lax. And then finally, by lip rounding, whether or not the lips are rounded or unrounded. So first we're going to look at the front vowels. First is the lowercase I. It's the highest and most fronted of the vowels, and because of this, it's considered a point vowel. Some examples are fleet, the E sound, we, TV, teacher, yeast, Easter, reach, peace, and seeks. The tongue is high, front, the lips are unrounded, and it is tense. So you can see when I say the E, my lips are unrounded. Next, we have the small capital I. This is high, but it is lower than the lowercase I. It's used for the Y, the E sound in unstressed final syllables. So for example, flit, business, stink, choosy, kitty. So it makes the I sound and flit, and then the E sound at the end of the words choosy and kitty. It's high, but it's lower than the lowercase I. It's a front vowel. The lips are unrounded, and it is lax. I. Okay, next we have the lowercase e and the diphthong. The lowercase e is used in unstressed syllables, where the diphthong is used in stressed syllables. Okay, so here are some examples of the lowercase e. Chaotic, gyrate, undulate, phonate, rotate, the A sound. And then the diphthong is used in stressed syllables and at the end of words. Examples: away, to pay, create, plays, contagious. The height is high mid, front, unrounded, and tense. Next we have the epsilon. The tongue body is located midway between the mid and low positions. And some examples are met, the sound, etch, tender, steady, heather, relish. Like I said before, the tongue height is low mid, front, it's unrounded, and it is a lax vowel. Next we have ash. It's the lowest of the 5 front vowels. It's a point vowel because it's the lowest. Used when it precedes the N sound, NY sound in sank and bang. Some other examples are trash, the sound, jazz, language, manage, tamper, batter. It's low, it's a front vowel, your lips are unrounded, and it is lax. Next, we are moving on to the back vowels. The first one is the lowercase u. It's extremely high, so the tongue is in an extremely high back position. Because of this, it's considered a point vowel, and it makes the U sound. Chew, truth, clue, loot, spew, tuna. The tongue height is high, back, rounded, see how my lips are rounded, and tense. Next we have the Upsilon. It's a back vowel. It's high but lower than the lowercase u. Open syllables never end with the Upsilon. Some examples: could, the sound, sugar, pushed, bowl, should, would, cushion, hood, the So it's high, back, rounded, and a lax. Next we have the lowercase o and its corresponding diphthong. So o is used in unstressed syllables like prohibit, brocade, rotation. It's the o sound. And then the diphthong is used in stressed syllables or at the end of a word. For example, probate, slower, below, remote, bloated. The tongue is high, mid, and back. The lips are rounded, and it is a tense vowel. The next backed vowel is the open O. For some dialects, it has merged with the script A sound. So some examples of the open O are wrought, aw, laud, that aw sound, lawn, log, call, broad, and rob. The tongue is low mid, back, the lips are rounded, and it is tense. Our next back vowel is the script A. The tongue is in an extremely low back position. Because of this extreme position, it is a point vowel. Some examples are raw, the aw sound, rotten, ostrich, posse, problem, Hans, bronze, and stop. Again, the tongue height is low, back, the lips are unrounded, and it is tense. Now we're moving on to the third category of vowels, which are the central vowels. And we start with the schwa. So the schwa occurs in unstressed syllables only. The tongue is in the most central portion of the mouth, why it's called a central vowel. Some examples are untrue, the sound, cologne, machine, villain. The tongue height is mid, central, unrounded, and lax. And then we have the wedge, which makes a similar sound to the schwa, but the tongue is slightly lower and further back than with the schwa. It occurs in stressed syllables and monosyllabic words. For example, crumb, done, mustard, and button. The tongue is low mid, advancement is back central, the lips are unrounded, and this is a lax vowel. Next we have the schwar. It occurs in unstressed syllables. The tongue tip is raised and curled towards the alveolar ridge, or the tongue tip can be lowered and bunched near the palate. It occurs in unstressed syllables. For example, pertain, luxury, chattering, runner, the sound. So the height is mid, advancement is central, the lips are rounded, and it is a lax vowel sound. Next, we have the right hook reversed epsilon. This occurs in stressed syllables and at the end of one-syllable words. It's the only central vowel that is tense. Some examples are her, the sound, stir, word, deter, surgeon, and reverse. The height is mid, and it's central, rounded, and tense. For the diphthongs, the tongue glides from the first position, which is called the on glide, to the second position, which is called the off glide. And the tongue always glides from a lower to a higher position in the mouth with these diphthongs. Okay, so here we can see our diphthongs. The first one, for example, it makes the I sound, like by, lie, fiber, light, feisty. The second one makes the aw sound, loud, the owl sound, loud, clown, around. Hear that owl sound. The next one is oi, as in boy, join, ahoy, foible, foible. The fourth one we've seen previously, and it is used in stressed syllables to make the A sound, bay, say, lane, pays. And then the last diphthong, we've also seen this previously, it's used in stressed syllables. So we have bow, makes the O sound in stressed syllables, so and row. And we have our R-colored vowels. So we have the AR, and it sounds like R, as in art, large, far. The second one sounds like were, like sure, insurance. Then we have the next one as in order, morning, and before. Ear, as in here, years. And then the air sound, as in where, therefore, and airport. And now we're moving on to the consonants. So with consonants, there is a constriction in the vocal tract. And consonants are categorized according to the manner of production, which is how the airstream is modified, the place of articulation, where the constriction is located, the voicing, whether the phoneme is voiced or voiceless. And here you can see the various places of articulation. So bilabial, the uses the upper and lower lips. Labiodental is your lower lip and your upper central incisors. Dental is the tongue, apex or blade, and the teeth. Alveolar is the tongue, apex or blade, and the alveolar ridge. Palatal is the blade of the tongue and the hard palate. Velar is the back of the tongue and the velum or soft palate. Glottal is the vocal folds, and lingual is the tongue. Here we can see the different placements. So the red is bilabial, then we have labiodental, dental, alveolar, post-alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. So the first category of consonants are the stops or plosives. With these, the airstream is completely obstructed in the oral cavity, so they're called obstruents. And also in the velopharyngeal port, the velum is raised to prevent the breath stream from entering the nasal cavity. During the period of closure, intraoral pressure increases, the constriction is then released, and the pressure is relieved. And when it's relieved, you hear an audible sound of expulsion of the air. So you can hear that air being expelled, and that's the plosive. Stops are the shortest phonemes in duration. The sound source for voiceless stops is at the point of constriction in the vocal tract, which is formed by the articulators. The sound source for a voiced stop is the noise source produced at the constriction, or the vocal tone produced by the vibrating vocal folds. So our first two stop consonants are the lowercase p and the lowercase b. The p is a voiceless bilabial stop, and the B is B voiced bilabial stop. So they both have they're both stops. They both have the same place of articulation. The only difference here is that the P is voiceless and the B is voiced. Okay, next we have the lowercase t and the lowercase d. These are alveolar stops. The t is voiceless, and the d is voiced. Again, the only difference between these two is the voicing. Next, we have the alveolar tap. It's somewhere between a t and a d. It generally occurs in words with an intervocalic T or D digraph where the first syllable is stressed. Some examples: whittle, battle, coddle, ladder, QT. And then we have the glottal stop. It's an allophone of t, and it generally occurs in the syllable final position. Some examples: button, mountain, hat, fatten, Latin, atlas. And here you can see the transcription of mountain with the glottal stop between the ends. Our next drop consonants are the lowercase k and the lowercase g. These are velar stops. The k is voiceless and the g is voiced. The nasal consonants are sonorant, the velum is lowered, and the articulators block the airflow out of the oral cavity so that the airstream continually flows through the nasal cavity and out the nostrils. Okay, so the nasal consonants are lowercase m, lowercase n, and the ang. The m is voiced, it's bilabial. The n is voiced, but it's alveolar in its place of articulation. And the ang is voiced and velar. Okay, and these are our three nasal consonants. Some examples with the m are mark, slam, mend, cramp. For n, we have note, nail, nile. And ang, sing, clank, ankle, larynx, stinky. Next, we have the fricative consonants. So with the fricatives, the breath stream is forced through a constriction in the vocal tract. This creates a turbulent frictional noise, which is why it's called a fricative, because of that noise. They are considered obstruents, and the articulators, though, do not close completely. So our first set of fricative consonants are the lowercase f, and the lowercase v, v. These are both labiodental fricatives. The difference is that the f is voiceless and the v is voiced. Next, we have the theta and the eth. The theta is voiceless and interdental, and the eth is voiced. Both are interdental. Some examples of the theta are thermal, thought, froth, with, bath. And then the eth, which is voiced, though, lathe, feather, wither, bathe. So you can really highlight that difference in the word bath, bath using theta, bath, and bathe using eth. Next, we have the lowercase s and z. These are both velar fricatives, the s being voiceless and the z being voiced. Next, we have the esh and the yo, or the yog. So the esh is voiceless and the yo is voiced, and these are both palatal fricatives. So for example, with the esh, we have shook, sure, mansion, machine, makes the sh sound. And then the yo, fusion, zh, the zh sound. Casual, profusion, regime, erosion. Next, we have the lowercase h, which is voiceless, and this is the only glottal fricative. So it's the h sound. Hook, helium, whose, behave, unhook. Next, we have our affricates. So an affricate is a combination of the stop and fricative manners. The articulation begins as an alveolar stop, and then air is forced through the constriction formed by the tongue and the palate, and this creates a turbulent noise. You can see the first one is a voiceless palatal fricative, and on the bottom we have a voiced palatal. The first one is a voiceless palatal affricative, and the second one is voiced. So, for example, we have chick, righteous, nature, chimney, ch. And then j is jelly, adjoin, injure, Jake, generous, making the j sound. Next, we have the approximate consonants, and the first category of those are the glides, which is the lowercase j, which actually makes a y, like a y sound, yeah, and the lowercase w, w. These both involve a gliding motion of the articulators, which is why they're called glides. They're always prevocalic. There is continued movement of the articulators throughout their production into the following vowel. So the y is a voiced palatal glide, w is a voiced labiovelar glide. So some examples for the lowercase j are yell, fuse, feud, union. And for the lowercase w, we, y, language. Okay, and next we have the category of approximants called liquids. And those are the turned R and the lowercase l. So that R, the turned R, can be produced by raising the tip of the tongue and curling it back toward the rear of the alveolar ridge. The front of the tongue then lowers. Or the front of the tongue will lower and the body of the tongue is raised so that it closely approximates the hard palate. The voiced breath stream is then forced through the constrictions in either of those two methods. So the turned R is voiced in a palatal liquid, where the lowercase l is a voiced alveolar liquid. So some examples of the turned R: red, stress, car, revolt. And the lowercase l, lawn, jello, bowl, bottle. The L is a lateral consonant. The airstream flows over the sides of the tongue. We have the light L, clue, police, lulu. It's prevocalic. And then we have the dark L, which you see in the words bundle, legalize, hustle, and it's valorized. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the transcription of disordered speech. And here you can see these are using brackets. So first we have unreleased stops. And you can see that an unreleased stop is denoted by the little line, goes across and then down. And this is when there's no audible release. This occurs naturally at the ends of words as in leak, put, map, hog, red. So there's no audible release at the end of those words. When two voiceless stop consonants occur one after the other in the same syllable, the first one is not released, as in stacked. So the k sound is not released. Next, we have the aspiration of stops, which is denoted with the little h up at the top. Aspiration normally occurs in the words pass, torn, and atone. Can hear the aspiration in those words. It does not normally occur when a voiceless stop follows the fricative s, as in spoon, scat, or stood. If an aspirated stop does occur in this phonetic environment due to a disorder, then it should be marked appropriately, as in spoon. So if you hear that p, instead of just spoon, 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 where you hear that aspiration, then it should be marked. So some of these things can happen naturally, but if it's unnatural, then it indicates a disorder. That's when it should be noted. Next, we have unaspirated stops, which is marked with the equal sign. Unaspirated stops are common following the fricative s, as in the words spin or escape. Children with disorders may not aspirate initial stop consonants at the beginning of words as expected. When an aspirated stop is produced without aspiration, it might sound like a voiced stop. So pan might sound like ban instead of pan. Next, we have nasalization. Okay, so the words that you see have nasalized vowels due to the nasal environment created by the nasal consonants. So hang, in, mum. But sometimes you can have hypernasality, which is excessive nasality, due to an improper velopharyngeal closure. This happens when nasality is not expected, and it occurs when the velum is lowered. Nasal emission is an audible escape of air through the nares due to improper velopharyngeal closure. So the air will be escaping through the nostrils. The diacritic is used when nasal emission accompanies a phoneme that is not normally nasalized. Some examples include snail, nice, zoo, and pie. Denasality occurs when the nasal phonemes are produced without nasalization, and it would sound like a person with a cold. So instead of saying my name is Matt, it would sound like by Dabe is bat. And you can see the transcription of that here. Oops, you can see the transcription here. Okay, so voicing, this little mark is put under the letter. This is used when a voiceless phoneme is produced with partial voicing. When the tap is used in the words better and kitty, the voiceless T becomes partially voiced due to the environment created by the surrounding phonemes. It may occur in some pronunciation of the words pester, mister, and Leslie. And then devoicing normally occurs when latter is transcribed with a tap because the D is devoiced. It also occurs when one of the approximates, like the WL, turned R, or lowercase j, follows a voiceless consonant. Some examples include fray, pew, slip, and queen. And here, you can see the devoicing diacritic is placed above descending IPA symbols, such as the two that you see here. When a consonant is produced with the tongue more forward in the oral cavity than normal, the symbol, the plus sign, is used. Narrow transcription of the word key would be because the K is produced closer to the palate due to the environment provided by the front vowel, lowercase I. When a consonant is produced with the tongue further back than normal, the minus sign symbol is used. When the alveolar stops T or D precede the R, the place of articulation becomes post-alveolar because it is a palatal phoneme. True and dry may appear to sound like true and dry, dry. These two symbols may also be used to indicate a variation in tongue advancement associated with vowel production. A retracted production of a would be transcribed as, the symbol you see here, indicating that the vowel is further back than would be expected, but not so far back as to result in the production of the script A vowel. This symbol indicates when a vowel is produced with the body of the tongue raised more than expected. And this symbol indicates that a vowel is produced with the body of the tongue lowered more than is expected. A consonant that is not normally produced with lip rounding may become rounded in the presence of the phonemes the lowercase u, the upsilon, or the lowercase w. This can be seen in the initial consonantal phoneme of quick, good, zoo, and rude, and you can see the transcription there below. The IPA symbol for more rounding is seen here. The IPA symbol for less rounding is seen right there. Alveolar consonants can sometimes be produced with a dental articulation. The tongue tip contacts the upper front teeth. In the word ninth, the N becomes dentalized in typical speech production. Some more examples would be filth and month. Some children with phonological disorders produce a frontal lisp with the S and Z in words like shoe and zoo. The tongue tip touches the upper incisors during the production of S. So the S will sound like th, and the Z will sound like th. Like you have that TH sound, whether it's voiced or unvoiced. And some children with phonological disorders produce the affricates ch as th and j as z. And you can see some of the examples right there. Rith and them. The articulation for the plosive portion is no longer alveolar but dental, with the tongue tip between the front teeth. So these two sounds are substituted for other sounds. Then you get the TH sound. When M and N are followed by F, the place of articulation is altered due to the influence of the place of articulation for F. Some examples include comfort, conference, unfair, and emphasis. Then we have the valorized L. This occurs when the alveolar consonant L is produced in the velar region of the vocal tract. The L is then called valorized or dark. It is valorized in the postvocalic position of most words like ball and eagle. It is found in all occurrences of syllabic L, for example, leave or leg. It can also be found at the beginning of words in disordered speech. The word initial valorized L may sound like it is preceded by G due to the valorized L as in love, glove. Can sound like that. All right, and that was my presentation for phonetics.